All right, welcome everyone to this meeting. This is our first group meeting. And the first question goes as follows. Discuss the key concepts that had an impact on your understanding in the class and how it helped you complete the projects in this class. And I'm going to talk about how the learning material helped me better understand communication more effectively and use sound and motion. So the first week when we read all about sound and how, even an airline in China, they use sound headphones while you eat your meal, and depending on the soundtrack given, you get different flavors, whether one's umami or whether one's different. And that impacted my way of communication because, it shows that sound truly does have an impact on the world around us and how, not only is it just the type of sound, but the frequency. And, higher sounds said they were perceived as clicks, while lower rumbles were not perceived as clicks, which can immerse someone into a soundtrack or into a commercial more, no matter what it be. And that got me thinking about how Star Wars, immerses their audience into the movie. As when it starts, it's high trumpets, but there's also that dun 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 dun. It's not necessarily high pitched, which, truly immerses the viewer into the start of the movie. And another thing I wanted to touch on was talk about how your view of the design profession has changed since completing the projects. And regarding sound, my view of the design profession has completely changed because I got my bachelor's in graphic design and it was all, purely static. We didn't really focus on sonic branding or anything of that sort. And now, my mind has been completely opened, and it's astonishing to realize, there's so much more that ranges than purely static design. We talk about um, sonic branding, and how that also is just as important as the visuals. As if you have a brand, which I'm going to get into in step two, that's, all about um, sleeping and, like, let's say mattresses, perchance, you're not going to have sounds that are high pitched or that are fast paced. You're going to have sounds that are soothing that go with the brand to fit the identity. So, learning this material really has changed my view on the design industry because there's so much more than just static visuals that go into branding. And then this will help me as a designer in the future by, when creating projects for my portfolio or even for clients, I can offer a wider range of assets in the sense, it's no longer just visuals, but we're going to be building the sonic identity as well. It could be used for social media, whether they want to create advertisements, reels, anything of that sort. And, moving to the motion side, um, learning the material helped me better understand how to communicate effectively with motion because in the third chapter of the book that we read for week three, it mentioned the evolution of storytelling and how once technology and art intersect, it completely revolutionized storytelling as a whole. As we were, and that relates to branding. It's no longer just static images, but now we're able to create motion, and the words and the objects that move across the screen in that space, they have a certain behavior, they have a personality, but that's only set by the designer. And it talked also about motion literacy and how when you're giving something a personality or a behavior, you have to make sure it fits within that identity of the brand. As touching back on the mattress brand, if you were to have a mattress brand you would expect something more soft, something maybe slow paced. But if you're including visuals that are fast paced, jittery, then you're not staying on brand and you're not being motion literate. So I think being motion literate is really a big part of motion itself, as you got to be able to assign personalities, behaviors, and to certain shapes, to your typography and to the overall project itself. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to you, Nicole.
Hey guys, good morning. I thought it was really interesting too, learning about how our different senses affect each other. So, like in that airplane example, I had never even considered the fact that your sense of taste could be affected by what you're hearing. It blew my mind. I'm like, what? What? So that one really started opening the floodgates for me of exploring, okay, so we're not just looking at visuals, we're not even just looking at audio, we're looking at the full experience that we take in with all five senses and how that creates this experience or that experience for the consumer. And being on the design end of that, whoa, it's almost like playing God in a little bit. Like it's really, really involved in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I found that really intriguing, and I'm really looking forward to finding out how people use that more in other industries, in other areas. Have you guys heard of anybody else using things like sound to affect taste?
Besides
Yeah,
the examples given in the book, I haven't heard of anything in particular. Like I remember they mentioned that I want to say it was a restaurant in Britain that they gave you a chocolate cake with the option of two soundtracks, one that was bring out more bitter and the dark flavors of the chocolate, while the other one was more high pitched, bringing out the sweeter flavors. But besides the two examples given in the book, this was my first time hearing about this.
Okay.
I've actually heard about this. There's a pizza restaurant here in this in Manhattan called Jerry's, and I think it's kind of famous for like having like a cameo in the first or second Spider-Man movie. Like that's I think where Peter Parker worked. But when we were there back when I was like I think I was like 17 or 18, and this was when the first time I heard it because the thing about me is like I know that this program has like so many different people that are coming from different backgrounds. Mine's is movies. Like I've always been into the movie field of things. So sonically, sound and things sonically have always been kind of punctured into my head or evoking emotions is what I kind of learned that it was growing up. So there was a piece of space that would play music depending on what kind of pizza you would get. So like if you were to get a pepperoni and pineapple pizza or a ham and pineapple pizza, you would hear Samoan music. You would hear that vibe, and it'll put you in that area, in that ground. If it was like a meat lovers pizza, it was more of a hard rock, hardcore song. If it was a cheese pizza, it was more of a plain song, something that just kind of just has just nothing but instruments, no audio, no just pure instruments. And I always would think that it was crazy until this new 40X type of theaters have coming out. So, you're in a 40X theater and you see a burger getting sizzled on the grill. Not only do you feel the heat of the burger on the grill, not only do you hear it and feel the mist that could come, but just because of your four other senses are being messed around with, I can always start to feel like, okay, I could taste this burger after the first bite from the actor or actress. So definitely see how it comes into play.
Wow,
It's
that's
really interesting. Thanks, guys.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matthew.
Oh, I was just saying that's awesome.
Mhm.
I'm excited to see how that continues forward in just the industry's future, too.
Right.
It made me laugh that you were saying that it came up as Peter Parker's workplace in that Spider-Man movie because he's extra sensory. That's part of his whole character thing is that he has the
Right.
spidey sense. So I was like, oh, I see what they did there. Oh,
That's
cute.
yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Like
Oh,
he would know what pizza someone got coming in and out without even knowing. And like, it's so many things. Even speaking about Peter Parker and the whole Sony Marvel thing, it's so many things where you literally have to watch the movie 1,000 times to pay attention to something that was just thrown in there for people like us in school that are studying these things verbatim and studying these things with it being shown to us versus because I was freelance. I'm a freelance creative director. Full Sail's and kind of like molding me into the structure of it and understanding deeper. So there's a lot of things I've already learned, but here comes Full Sail, just like Nicole said, just injecting like a godlike serum in me that's just making it like, oh wow, like okay, I can kind of capitalize on everything in a different level and attack on different places, you know. So I definitely relate to when she said that.
cool, cool. Nice. This is good.
Yeah.
Um, One thing I found interesting as I was going through this course, and this is my second time through the course, so I've had a little more time to kind of sit with it. When we're looking at branding, that it, like you had said, Matthew, it's not just static, it's not just graphic design and visuals, it's not even just graphics and music, or graphics and narration, or video and music. It's all of these different components at once that all cause different reactions. They all, kind of like an orchestra, they all come in and have their part that they play to create this feeling, create this mood, create this effect on the person that is taking it in. I worked in branding for a while. I had no idea it was so involved. I just thought, oh, somebody wants a new logo. We look for something that kind of fits their vibe or looks cool. Okay. Maybe they'll do a promo video. We'll find some cool music. We'll do a narration. But it's so much more than that. I mean, it can be that simple, but the fact that it can be so immersive, oh, and it makes you want to go back and start watching, like, how do all these different high-end companies show off their things and what do they use from these concepts? Like, if I'm looking at an ad, whether it's in a mall or on the TV and it's for like Chanel, what are they going to do that might be different that draws in the customer in a unique way? Even though you can't like smell a perfume through the TV, what are they able to do sonically and visually to try to give you the experience of what they're conveying? It'd be interesting to check out.
Yeah. And that's crazy because, like I said, for the last maybe I want to say like since 2022, I've been literally immersive when it comes to connecting with people using emotions. So the sonically and theatrically and kinetically, things like that all kind of correspond and play one big role. But like perfect example with Chanel. I'm a Ralph Lauren like fanatic. Like when I say like I have been loving Ralph Lauren as not only a brand, but him himself for about 29 years of life. I turned 30 this year. So it's like just growing up and like going from the who is this guy? Where is he from? You know, we're from the same area in New York and everybody has he's like really well respected over there. But as I grew up and I just start to pay attention, I never knew him. You know, growing up in New York, you don't really know the designer. You just know that everyone's wearing the designer. So if I grew up, I'm just seeing everybody with a horse on their shirt and a teddy bear. I just go by it. But as I went to school and I started growing and reading, then then I met him in person and we had a conversation. And I'm like, oh wow, like this guy's like an actual idol. You know, a lot of people look at LeBron or, Tom Cruise or different people as their idols. And like mine is Mr. Lifshitz. And it's like mine is his because you can feel his brand talking to him. And it's like, I know that may not make sense, but if you were to meet Ralph Lauren and you would see his brand before you met him, and then you see him and allow him to explain it to you, or not even explain it, if he was just to speak to you straightforwardly, you would understand the brand. So and goes to what I'm saying with that is like the Chanel situation. The perfect okay, Chanel has a Le Boy scent that they just dropped recently. And in the commercial, it's splashing in ice cold water. That's how it starts. It's splashing ice cold water. The girl is walking around, boom. The music is really like mellow, but it drives you straight to it's a cool scent. I go into Sephora, I go into Ulta, I go into Macy's, I grab that scent, I spray it, I can feel or remember that water feeling, that cool, ice cold water feeling. So I spray it. Friends ask, how do you like it? What do you can compare it to? What type of feeling or it is? Because my friends, me and my friends, when we smell colognes and perfumes, we say, we give it like a season. Like we be like, like a nice winter vibe, or this is for sure summer. And summer is usually the one that pops out more and it gives you like a stronger base smell. But you spray the Chanel, you go cool. We're like, that's winter. That's something that we would like to spray on date night or a gala event or things like that. But that all comes from the commercial, like that all comes from what I saw from the commercial. But the person who made it so that I could even see things like that, where every little thing adds on to like a manipulative situation mentally for the consumer and customer is Ralph Lauren. Like he's been making clothes for, he's probably going on his 50th year, 60th year of making clothes, whereas it's still the same exact price from when he started. It's still popping. It's still basic clothing or over excessive clothing. He still has each label. He still has everything going, and it's like mentally and sonically and physically and emotionally. When you go to select whatever label you want, if I wanted to go to a wedding, I will go to a purple label. I will feel that coming into the store. I will also hear you have 4 stores that Ralph Lauren promotes. He has the Ralph Lauren factory, he has the Ralph Lauren outlets, he has the Polo and Macy's, and then he has the Polo store, like the Ralph Lauren store. That one doesn't say Polo at all anywhere. It just says Ralph Lauren. You go in there and it says Ralph Lauren versus if you go to a factory store. We have a lot of factory stores that says Polo Factory. Or if you go to outlets, it says Polo Outlets. But when it's his store or when it's, I want a suit and tie, I want to look expensive. I want to feel good. I want good material, great material. I'm going to Ralph Lauren. So that kind of, I feel like that's what this like course is kind of even breaking it down for me to even understand more. Like, wow, it isn't only just in how you visually show it. It isn't just how you plan it. It's more so how you carry yourself and how you have the confidence to show someone else they're mimicking you. So
Awesome insights. Oh, this is awesome. One thing that oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can continue.
Okay, sorry. One thing that I thought of, Blessing, when you were talking through the Ralph Lauren experience is like when they have soda commercials and you see all the ice splosh into the drink and it's all these sounds that sound like, ooh, it's so refreshing. But like Coca-Cola is not hydrating for you whatsoever. But we always think, oh, I'm thirsty. I want something cool and refreshing. Oh, I could go get a soda. And then you have to stop and go, wait a minute. That's not, ah. But it's funny how that changes our perception, even when we know, okay, this product is this, but we perceive it in another light and how that changes our consumer behavior. And, you know, it's totally different than how we otherwise would behave around that product. You know what I mean?
mm, literally, it's like liquor. Like
Yeah.
Hennessy can make a commercial and everyone's wearing a suit. Now I throw a suit and tie event and Hennessy's the first drink I get, but 5 shots after Hennessy, I won't be acting like I'm in a suit and tie. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like it's just literally all branding, so it all makes sense.
Very true. Yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down, but I'm like, okay, focus. Um,
Um,
I really appreciate, oh, go ahead.
yeah, I want to add on to this. So, you guys are talking about like messaging and branding and how a brand makes you feel. And, going back to question one, like how has the learning material changed your perspective about the industry? I read something in the reading that goes, the impact of sound on contemporary design, it helps consumers connect with a brand more, through multiple soundscapes. And the first thing that popped to my mind was McDonald's, right? Not only is McDonald's the golden arches and, the red and the yellow, which red, evokes appetite and yellow evokes happiness. McDonald's would not be McDonald's without their soundscape, without their but like it's so on brand and it correlates, with their identity. It makes you feel happy. And I wouldn't necessarily say the but makes you feel hungry, but it evokes family friendliness.
Mhm.
And reading about sound and how soundscapes work, it changed my perspective on the industry. As you know, it makes the viewer and the audience more immersed, even and the consumer more immersed into the brand. M- in the same way that McDonald's is not McDonald's without the arches, McDonald's is not McDonald's without the ba-da-ba-ba-ba. It's solidified. It's set in stone.
Literally, like they don't even have to say the ba 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 anymore. They can have an orchestra play it. They can have a kid make it out of a table beat with a pencil. Like I'm so happy you say that because that's one of the brands that I grabbed during this lesson. Like, oh, McDonald's is the perfect example. Like I can watch the McDonald's commercial and I can see they'll do a back to school situation at the perfect back to school time. And there's a commercial of a kid playing the drums and he goes dum 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 dum. And it's like, whoa, they're not even speaking anymore. Like when I was born, it was about it's people singing, people saying it in slow motion, people saying it in jazz. Now they don't even have to verbally say it anymore. We already like programmed they know what that ba da ba 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 means to the point where they can just make the sound and we still like it. So I definitely agree with that. I kind of also answered the question to one, two when I was speaking. So if you want to like save time and move to two, I kind of still answered it all at one.
Say that again.
What do
Sorry.
you think? Oh,
Like I said, I kind of answered my question for number one, two when I
Mhm.
was just in case like we are against time. I don't know if we are, but
No, we're doing actually really good on time.
okay, okay, okay.
nice. One thing that I thought of too that goes with that McDonald's example is even though sonically the ba-da-ba-ba-ba has nothing to do with appetite, we have a Pavlovian response that when we hear it, we connect it with, oh, McDonald's. And visually, we might think of the imagery of the different, like, steamy burgers and things that they show on their commercials. And that evokes that, oh, yeah, I think I'm hungry. I might want to go get something kind of response.
Hmm.
Mhm. Like a happy dance, I feel like McDonald's Happy Meal, happy got the red that evokes happiness. Yeah, I mean appetite got the gold that evokes happiness. You see it, the ba da ba ba ba. It's like you just once you get the burger and the fries, you could just feel that dance in the tunes. Like you feel like after a long day of not eating, and you just take a bite of the McDouble and some fries in the car. You just feel the ba da ba ba ba, like, and you're genuinely loving it. So I get it. Same as
Yeah,
like,
it's all about that tagline.
same as Netflix. Like I hear Netflix and can be like I have a Fire Stick, so I'm pretty sure all of us have like a Roku TV Fire Stick type of thing. So there's a Netflix button on there. So I press mine. I know it's a little delayed. I'm probably doing the 10 things at one time, but I'm catching the um to like I catch it like when it comes
Yeah.
on, knowing it's coming, and my TV's loud. I'm like, oh, gotta hurry up and turn my TV down because it's gonna sound like a crazy to. So I like that also.
Yeah, it's so interesting how those things prompt us. Like we were reading about, you could be in another room, but you hear the beginning or like hallmark sound of a brand from one of their commercials, and
Hmm.
instantly it grabs your attention. Like you could be doing something entirely different, and your brain will shift and go, oh, there's an ad for Macy's or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
And that's something that, yeah, visually you can't accomplish that, but with sound, you can. And in
Yeah.
all the different sonic levels of that, too, like you were saying, Matthew, it could be the things that are playing high, playing low, it could be vocal, it could be musical, it could be sound effects, they all work together to achieve these different feelings, to evoke different emotions, and ultimately to evoke different responses.
Hmm. All right. Let's move on to number two, as we shouldn't be exceeding the time limit. We went really far on number one, so I'm probably gonna have to go in and cut a little bit out. But yeah, let's start number two. And yeah, who would like to go first on number two?
Um,
If not,
I,
I can start.
yeah, you can start. I'll go next if you want to.
Okay, so we are all supposed to go out and find a brand that was not discussed in this course to compare it to a design concept from this month's case studies. And one that I want to compare to this month's case studies is Five Gum. And I'm going to compare it to Dove. And Dove is finding the real sense of beauty and redefining beauty. And Five Gum, in a way, I feel tried to redefine what it is to chew gum. It's not just something that you pop in your mouth and you're like, okay, this is a good flavor, and then you spit it out a couple seconds later. They're redefining what it is to chew Five Gum. And they take it up a notch in every single commercial. And some specific audio and motion elements in the brand is first, starting with the motion at the end after they show, the intense clips. It's the electric whoosh and like kind of like a static imprint, and it's showing like an intensity. And after that, everything kind of quiets down and it goes how to chew Five Gum, and there's almost a glitching effect. And it's showing that Five Gum is not just a flavor, but it holds intense flavor. It's an intense experience while you chew the gum. And, it's going to get you focused. It's going to get you energized. And, some concepts that I recognize in this brand, as regarding to the reading is um, the inclusion of the lower sound effects, as in there's no high-pitched sounds that are regarded as clicks, but more, you know, ambient buildups that are given to immerse the viewer so they can almost have a sense of, what it's like to chew Five Gum. And another one of the concepts I want to talk about is uh, when discussing motion, as it's discussing object movement, and it goes beyond just the visual appeal, um which the clips before the motion come in, are correlated to the brand and their on brand identity, but they're trying to like have it be more appealing. But when it comes to object movement in Five Gum, their their motion goes beyond the visual appeal. It conveys the energy, it conveys the emotion and the intent of the brand of how it is, to chew their gum. They're giving you with the visuals and the motion combined, they're giving you a sense of the experience of chewing Five Gum. Although a bit exaggerated, they're giving you an experience. And is the brand successful in their use of the concepts? I would say the brand is successful in their use of concepts as opposed to a Trident commercial or an extra commercial. When I see Five Gum, I immediately want to just go and purchase Five Gum, as I want to see what the experience is like to go and chew Five Gum. All
It
right.
actually reminds me of those Orbit commercials. Do you remember those? The
Yes.
girl who smiles all big and goes, fabulous. And
Yes.
it just, you see this like perfect smile and this little ka-ding.
Hmm.
And, chewing gum doesn't necessarily make you feel like you're going to have these shiny, clean teeth. But because that's the messaging that they convey, people
Hmm.
go out and get it thinking of that.
Yep. And literally, like, just because, okay, so I think I'll go just bit just off with the energy that you came with. My brand that I selected, of course, will be Ralph Lauren. And just to keep it shorter than what I said before, but Ralph Lauren is like it's timeless. It's basically just timeless elegancy, like elegance. So over the years, Ralph Lauren has went from kind of looking like it's only in a ball or in a circle or in a bubble with a certain type of group of people to now it's more diverse. A good example is they had their family is who you love campaign they kind of did for a year. And everything about that campaign was like slow motion transitions, slow pans, natural lighting, things that are people smiling, people laughing. And it's like, I just feel like that approach aligns with the case studies of just emotional and emotion and storytelling. So like we're picking sound and pacing sounds and visual stuff and things like that. Visual calm visuals help create and keep the elegance flow going throughout the situation. I feel like the success in the applications is like they just succeed to just staying true to the brand. Like a lot of brands come and they go. Honestly, like they can come, they make 21 billion in 10 years and you never hear from them again. They literally can become things that we won't wear anymore. And like to the point where you're wearing them and it's like kind of you're a lame person for wearing them at this point. Like that's what society has kind of made. Like 20 years ago, we were wearing these Nikes, and if you didn't have them, you would die because you didn't have them. Like you go home, you gotta cry to your mama. I gotta cry to my mom. Like, yo, listen, like everybody has this. I cannot wear these Adidas. I need these Nikes, or I'm gonna get clowned. To 20 years later, now the same Adidas and Nikes are $12. I can wear them anywhere I want, and I can wear them, and I wear them for like house stuff if it's snowing, or if I want to take a jog or walk my dog. Like another example would be Ralph Lauren in comparison to Nike. Nike is maybe I would say Nike is like my second favorite brand, and the reason why I say it's my second favorite brand is because that's the brand that I wear, and I don't know that I'm purchasing it. Like that's the brand that I've been wearing all my life, and I don't realize how much of a competition it is with Ralph Lauren in my closet. Why I say that, and as I've been in these courses, why I realized that was eye opening is because one of the courses, I think 2 courses ago or 3 courses, was talking about Nike and their branding and how powerful their branding was and what they do with the complexity of just putting themselves in situations where you have to buy it. Like I've been playing sports all my life. I've only known Nike socks. I only know Nike performance gear. I've only known those things. So when I'm in the store and I see nice looking Adidas, I see nice looking or cheaper Russell material Under Armour, it's like, but Nike's gonna feel good. Or, but this swoosh looks better. But I have to stay on brand. And these are things that the brand I feel like created in me through their brand because now they have gotten me to connect. I flip my TV, my favorite player is wearing Nike. I flip TMZ and I'm seeing someone being bombarded by paparazzi. They have on a Nike Tech suit. I see someone who maybe have a celebrity crush on. She has a Nike top, bottom, or Nike purse. Just Nike gets implemented so well. But I say that in comparison to Ralph Lauren because here you have two brands that kind of attack on the same things in their own way, but you can feel the age in each one. Nike has been out way longer than Ralph Lauren, but Nike gives me young vibes. It gives me in shape vibes. It gives me exercise, clean, maybe just like a younger, like a healthy vibe. I think about health, wealth when I think about that. But here comes Ralph Lauren. I feel good. I feel like I look good. I feel like I smell good. I feel like I am calmer. I'm supposed to be laughing with my all 32 showing. I'm supposed to just be in this vibe. And that's what I feel like is the success and application of Ralph Lauren in comparison to other brands like Nike, Adidas. But yeah,
Nice. That's a really wonderfully deep comparison. I really appreciate all those insights. I'm like, whoa,
Thank you
it
so much.
doesn't take much to impress me, apparently. But
It's
that was really, really cool.
the same way.
One that I wanted to ask you guys about, because you're both men and I obviously am not. I was looking at the brands for Old Spice, and you know how they have that the man, your man could smell like. They have this whole thing where it's like ridiculous trying to feed into masculinity and things that women would want. But how does that how is that perceived as a guy? And then also looking at like Dos Equis, and they have the what's that? The most interesting man in the world, that kind of a thing. What is that experience like for you to take in?
That actually is a good question. I really do admire the Old Spice commercials because those manly man Old Spice commercials I feel like started like maybe like 10 years ago. And to see 10 years later that the woman is the lead of the commercials now is like I wouldn't call it an oxymoron, but it's like the perfect contradiction. It's like
Mhm.
it went from babe, wear this, I like it. Babe, wear this, I like it. To babe, where is it? And then now it went, and then it went to her sneaking to put it on, and like, hey, babe, do you have my deodorant on, or are you using my Old Spice? To now, there's Old Spice women, you know. So I that is a great. I'm happy you brought it up because Old Spice is one of those brands where I feel like, oh, okay, it may come off as connecting to the man, but using a woman to connect it makes a man feel you don't always want to impress your girl. I mean, I'm not in a relationship, but I'm pretty sure like when in my whatever my girlfriend thought would smell good, I would go buy because she wants me to wear it. So pushing that, attacking that sentiment part with branding was really good. Like I feel like that was like a kinetic way of connecting with a brand because it's like as a man, you're gonna want to cater or do what you think your woman wants first. So pushing a smell good, everybody wants to smell good. So pushing a smell good deodorant with the woman and like to the point where she's so addicted to the smell, perfect branding. It makes me I use Old Spice because of the branding. You know, so I'm one of the victims of great branding.
I I agree with that as well because, driving around Orlando, I see a bunch of billboards that, have just big block lettering and it says Tweed's Custom Suits. And it's just straight typography. And I'm like, they're really missing out on a big opportunity here because they could go about it in a bunch of different ways, as in the same way Old Spice went about it. As the men are no longer in the forefront of the commercials, they're more of a secondary character and women play the primary. It's it's demonstrating that Old Spice smells good. And, thinking in the psychological standpoint, how would men want to go and wear something? Yes, it smells good to us, but also, to men who want to get into a relationship, who want to smell good for their girlfriend, who want to smell good for their wife, that is the main thing. And having women play the forefront of the commercial, oh, did you take my deodorant? Did you take this? It shows that women are attracted to the smell, that they're enticed by the smell, that they enjoy it enough to the point that they would go and put it on themselves. So, they saw the opportunity and they nailed it completely. I would say it's even better than the Old Spice commercials where the guy's on the horse and what man do you want to be, man? It's almost stepping into territory that could have been unforeseen, but using women at the forefront and having them put on Old Spice and enjoy the scent to that extent was a great capitalization on their branding. And with that being said, we got to move on to number three as we are over time, but we can make this one around 15 minutes, and we're going to be a little over time for the meeting, but yeah, let's move on to the third.
Okay.
So, as a design team, using the concepts for the class, brainstorm the possible audio or motion elements that could be connected to your team name. So, we're the rogues, and what ideas come to mind? To start, ideas that come to mind for me are what I first think about is flexibility. The rogues could be something. I'll give two examples. The rogues could be something that's works in the shadows, that's very rebellious, but also you could take that rebellious stance and change it to something that's off the grid, as in the rogues, going to explore Australia, do things that aren't part of the norm, as in rebelling against society. But for this idea, I'm gonna go with, let's say rebelling against societal norms and spending more time outside, being more involved in nature and like the Australia standpoint. So we're gonna go rogue and we're gonna go off the grid and go explore. And what elements would need to be included? What I think elements that could be included, speaking firstly for sound, I would include things such as car engines, maybe quick whooshes, and the sound of a bunch of feet or just one person, sprinting, like it's time to go rogue. And then motion elements as well. I would include something of the sort, uh, relating to the rebellion standpoint that I took, having a dotted line, go straight, but then having one in comparison that doesn't just go straight and doesn't parallel, but goes, to the left, to the right, side to side, going its own path. And then
Yeah.
what this group name means to me as a designer, it means flexibility, like how I was speaking about in the beginning, because going rogue, you deal with elements of rebellion, elements of doing stuff that's not of the norm, and it can go pretty deep. It can go into stealth. It could go into more of the underground scene if you want to take that standpoint, because Rogue has a bunch of categories of what it could fit into. So that's what it means to me as a designer. And would I go with the literal translation of the name or something else? I would go with the literal translation of the name, but pair it with a tagline to bring more emphasis onto the name itself, to not just be so um, broad in the sense of, like if you were selling Tylenol and you say, okay, we have it's acetaminophen, um, it relieves headaches, blah, blah, blah. At that point, you're kind of just selling the category, and I wouldn't want to just advertise and, put the category of rogue on the forefront. I would choose, the rogue, unexplored expeditions, like if we're taking the Australian standpoint or something of that sort. I would pair it with um, a tagline. So, not the literal translations. As you know, Tylenol, they don't sell the category of Tylenol. They sell Tylenol itself. They tell you why Tylenol is better, why you should choose them. It's fast acting, 5 times as powerful, etc., etc. I want to say the rogues, unexplored, blah, 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 or the rogues, underground, blah, 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 And the target
Yeah.
audience would definitely depend on the direction you go with it. And if we were to say, let's go with the exploration standpoint, you're rebelling against society, you're going on explorations. The target audience, I would say, would be 25 to maybe 38, around there. And it would be both men and women who like outdoor activities that are probably more physically active and have a deeper connection with nature and enjoy the presence of animals. And yes,
Yeah. And just like I think that when what comes to mind with Rogue with me is the same. I know you said yours is kind of rebellion. Mine is like people who don't care to listen to the structure or don't care to follow the structure. Like that's what it comes to my mind. It's like it just kind of just being creative. When you're creative, there is no box. There's like there is no box. So that's where it came to it for me. I think that like it comes the it's like a raw feeling that comes to me, a bold feeling, a feeling of just like you're just above the generation that you're placed in. And you can either go backwards in the generations or you can go forward. Like wherever you are placed, there's no rules that can contain you or hold you or no box that can put you in there. Um, I think that, well, I like your sound effects for sure. And I like everything that you pushed, the whooshes, glitches also. Crowd chattering. Crowd chattering should be a lot, like maybe a lot of crowd chatting that comes to a halt, like risers, showing like maybe heartbeats. So it can like kind of deepen in the inner thought, like where you kind of are locked in with your inner self with heartbeats. Because every time I think about heartbeats, I think about your conscience. Like that's what you hear when it's a bunch of going on and you just hear heartbeats. So
Hmm.
a lot of chatters and or footsteps or a lot of movement followed by risers and heartbeats to kind of like show the loudness going from locking in and tunnel vision. I think fast-paced cuts, handheld things, handheld size style cuts, just to show the movement, show the chaos that comes to a halt. I wouldn't, as Ralph Lauren inspired as I am, I wouldn't say clean and crispy shots. I would say more of a grainy texture, more of a VHS look, high contrast visuals, nighttime, nightlife, summertime, summer life, depending on where we go. Um, Age group, I would say, would be like target audience, I would say, would honestly be maybe from 17 to about that 35 mark, that 35, 36 mark, because even 35 and 36-year-olds are still rebelling, turning 40 or turning, you know what I'm saying? Or a 16-year-old are just happy they're turning 17 or 17 are just happy they're turning 18. So, that college and coming straight out of college and going back in college and the couple of years of the college, you still are rebellious or you're still an outlaw in your mind or to society. So that's what I was thinking in comparison to Matthew.
Good stuff. When I think of the rogues, I like the whole breaking free of the norm idea. I initially visualize like a utopian or dystopian society, like everyone is at this high tea kind of event and everything is so prim and proper. And someone who's maybe a little more dressed down, more casual, kind of turns away and starts leaving. And you see everyone turn and just stare at them, but they don't follow, they don't chase him. But he still starts like running, like, get me out of here. This isn't my scene. I want to break free of all this and run my own path, you know?
Mhm.
Or it could be like breaking free of screens. You know how everybody is so obsessed with phones and computers and tablets and even just like visual ads. Someone that is choosing to break away from all of that, like maybe they drop their phone on the ground and just start walking away, and you see them go on a nature walk or something. They end up exploring the outdoors and just really showing like the exhilaration of being outside of only screen time and trying to recapture that as a society.
I like that. Maybe even like dropping the phone just to create like a suspense rise, dropping the phone, trying to quickly gather it before you see if it's shattered, doing that whole situation that I'm pretty sure everyone does when they drop their phone to turn it around and see if it's broken and then realizing it's broken, but just actually just dropping it again and stepping on it, let it crack some more, walk over, just start walking in nature. It's like that builds like up the. It's gonna just make you people saying, "Oh my God, what the heck? I would have went to iFix phones immediately, or I can't stay without my phone." So I like that idea a lot too.
Nice.
Mhm.
yeah, to add on to that and kind of bring the meeting to a close here. If we're gonna take the phone standpoint, um, what instantly comes to mind for me is, when everyone is at a concert, what do you see in the crowd? You see people's phones, you see this,
Hmm.
and the rogues could be, people who rebel against that and they just enjoy the concert for what it is, truly be in the experience of the concert. And, elements that could be included in the brand, whether, if we're going for something that's a full logo, that's a symbol, a word mark, and a tagline, we have like a big eye, as we're the rogues, so we see what's going on. We're not so stuck to our devices as everyone else is in today's society, you know, and that's what I would include. And for motion elements, I would have the eye, look around slightly, and then, to fade out with motion, just have it either be like you could even have it as just like falling flat or just shaking and then going away, dissipating.
Interesting concepts.
Yeah.
One that I think could piggyback off of that would be like if you're at one of those outdoor amphitheaters at a concert and you have everybody taping it and they're watching the screens to make sure that they have the right thing on screen, somebody just slowly lowering it and realizing the experience they're in, taking in like the vibrance of the lights and the stage and what's happening and being just washed over by the music and the sounds and you start taking in the smells and the feeling of the grass in your toes or whatever, how much that's such a more visceral experience than just watching it on a screen.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else we would like to add?
I'm actually great.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to end the recording right here.
Okay.